Tim Murrell, editor of A Gentleman in Moscow. The show is an adaptation of Amor Towles' bestseller. Had you read the book before this?
I hadn't read it before. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't read it. So I read the script first because that's what I was sent before I met Sam Miller, the director. But I read the book after that because I don't always do that when I'm working on something that's been adapted, but it can be really useful and kind of give you just an insight into character and and settings and sort of other nuggets of character that don't make it through to the script that can really help inform how you look at certain scenes and how things are played and how things develop. So I love the novel and obviously things get changed in adaptations, it's different form and all of those things, but I felt that the spirit of the novel was beautifully carried through by Ben Vanstone, the sort of main writer and showrunner.
Mhm. So why did you decide to read this one? And did you hesitate? Like, were you like, should I or should I not?
Well, in terms of reading the novel,
Yeah.
just because it's because I love the script and it felt like a book I then wanted to read because I only had a script for one episode at that point and I wanted to know more.
That means it's a great
And
script. You want more.
yeah, exactly. And I felt this was like a couple of other adaptations I've done. It was just really a really valuable thing. But I fell in love with the book and the characters in a really good way. So yeah, it was a worthwhile choice.
hmm well, you edited the premiere and you have the responsibility of setting up the story and the tone for the whole show. So what were what did you and Ben Vanstone, the showrunner, discuss about the premiere?
Yeah, and Sam Miller, the director too. It was just really, we didn't really discuss, and we didn't have a big tone meeting beforehand or anything. I think the tone and the kind of the sort of feel of the show was very inherent in the script, and then immediately in Ewan's performance. So it was really, the challenges of this show were kind of dealing with a character who's a man of many masks, who kind of is certainly at the beginning of the story very cloaked in the sort of manners and kind of traditions of his era, a man of originally wealth and great standing, and he's clinging on to those as the world around him has kind of been destroyed, and we slowly reveal who he really is, but you have to get to know him a little bit quicker than that in order for the audience to access him. But there were some wonderful scenes of him just on his own where the mask would slip and just little beats and Ewan was wonderful at calibrating those and giving us these moments of just, you knew there was some sort of sadness behind that kind of mask and sort of, so those gave us access. Plus he's also a very funny character and kind of quite brave at the beginning of the show, and the way he's standing up to a world around him that just wants to tear him down and basically kill him. And he seems to be dealing with that with great humour. So it was using those access points to help us kind of get into what's quite an alien world, I guess, for a lot of the audience, and and all of the sort of the barriers of it's the revolution, and he seems to be some sort of a man of any man of great wealth and power. You don't immediately feel empathy for necessarily, but I think the sort of main jumping in point was through Ewan, and just when it's funny, enjoying the humour as long as it's coming through character and circumstance, not sort of trying to ever push that stuff too heavily, just allowing it to come through naturally through the story, but making sure you do enjoy it and understand it when it happens.
hmm Yeah, Ewan is so great in the role, and you really get a sense of the Count's like humanity
Yeah.
through all the episodes. So what is it like when you have a great central performance, like and editing around that? Like, does it just make your job so much easier?
Well, absolutely, because Ewan was just fundamentally wonderful as the Count, and it's not an easy role to play because his journey is quite an internal one, and as you said, it's the humanity of the man is the kind of core of the story, and as the sort of the world order that he knew and clung to so heavily is kind of torn away, he's someone who learns to find a new world that's almost within him rather than all of the external things that he was used to in terms of large houses and sort of coach and horses and servants and all of these things. These servants then become his friends. He finds kind of love and happiness in the strangest of corners, and this sort of young girl is the one who takes him through and teaches him all of these things, and just Ewan was just brilliant at giving that central performance that the show definitely needs. He's in virtually every scene all the way through the 8 hours, and to calibrate that journey over 8 hours was done
Yeah,
wonderfully.
and there's so much passing of time too in every episode
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's some quite big leaps where you suddenly tell now he's suddenly a servant, where he was dining in that restaurant in the previous episode, which I think was a clever way of moving the story on. But yeah, he was brilliant, and so that makes that job easy. But as you talk to any actor, then you've got like 10 great takes. Which do you use? And it's finding all of those tiny nuances and things that you feel, well, this one is better than the last one. They're all great, but let's go here. And that was always a joy. And then the supporting cast, with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and kind of Faye Balogun and Johnny Harris. I mean, they're all really, really good. And so everyone kind of, it just spread throughout the whole cast. They were all fantastic. So that side of the job was always a pleasure.
Hmm. Well, the premiere also includes these flashbacks and teases of what happened to his sister. So how do you go about figuring out how much to tease for the audience without giving everything away?
Well, there was kind of a debate around that, and in terms of should they be more narrative and should they have their own little story journeys within them. But we felt Sam, particularly, and Ben were very convinced that these should be fragments of memory, like real memories are. They're not, you don't remember a scene from your past, you remember emotions and feelings and the sort of texture of the sun hitting your face and the sound of something coming through, but everything's very subjective. So they were shot from a very singularly subjective point of view, which was the Count's point of view. You never saw him, which was a great way in and immediately told you what sort of world you're in when you were in those flashbacks, but obviously makes cutting around them quite difficult because you've got a sort of singular point to come from. But we soon found just you could be quite jagged with them if you wanted. You could leave them as kind of more flowing and sort of gentle moments if that worked better. And obviously we played around with them quite a lot in terms of when they happened and what content we used in which episodes. So things got moved around quite a lot, experimented a fair amount with them, but they were a wonderful resource for accessing that sadness behind the Count's kind of outer sort of mask.
Yeah, sure. There's also this great montage in the premiere. I love a good montage, and it's like capturing his first, I think, 46 days in the hotel, and
Yeah.
the pace quickens very
Yes.
quickly. So can you talk about putting that together?
Yes, that was a lot of fun. It took a while to get all the pieces for that, just because of the shooting schedule. Even though the first two episodes were shot first, because of how we were building the sets and all of those things, that some of that material took a while to come through. But it was just became a great opportunity to kind of allow a burst of energy into a world that could sometimes become quite kind of staid and sort of what it never did in the show, but it could do. It's a man trapped in the interior of a
Yeah, because
hotel.
it's like his
But
ritual, so it could get kind of
yeah,
boring, but the
but
pace of the montage, it made it feel exciting.
yeah, well, that was the point, was to kind of see him kind of sort of almost seize the day a bit, as the way the Count would. His character's very much kind of just take what's in front of you and sort of stiff up a lip and get on with it and kind of make the best, and which he starts to do. And then as the sort of pace quickened, it then delivers him out into this kind of rather sad wide shot where he's suddenly like, whatever he tries to do to occupy, it's always the same thing and it keeps being the same thing. And there's a point when whatever face he puts on when he goes downstairs, when he's up in his little attic room, life is not going to get any better here, he
Yeah,
thinks.
like he can't go outside. Like he can do all
Yeah,
this, he can get a haircut, get shaved, but still
yes.
can't go outside.
There's a very strict limit to the joy one can get from those things.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun to edit, and we sort of decided to use quite bold music in the temp music when we first put it together, and then Federica Usid, our wonderful composer, just wrote this fantastic tune to go kind of just that sort of any love for the temp was eviscerated by the brilliance of what he came up with. So
It's a beautiful score. The score of the show in general, yeah, for sure. Well, Tim, it was great speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you back in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.